you experience the whole world through your body. What is anxiety? Anxiety essentially. Anxiety is your mind is doing something outside your control, right? Your mind is doing something outside of your control and you don't want it to do it, but it's still having these negative thoughts, right? Yeah. But this is the thing, right? Why do we think... So for example, if one day you wake up and your right arm is doing its own thing, like it's like moving by itself, people will think it's insane, right? They'll look at you and they'll be like, stay away from this guy, anything can happen, right? Do you know what I mean? They'll like, stay away from this guy, anything can happen, because your arm is doing its own thing outside your control, right? But when the same thing happens to the mind, we think it's normal for some reason. You know, the reason we think it's normal is because everybody, most of the people, if not almost everybody in the world, is experiencing the same thing, experiencing, you know, that mind outside their control. Because the reason this is the case, because if you have to operate a heavy machinery, right, like a big crane with so many different kinds of instruments, and somebody just puts you in the crane and you try to operate it without reading the instruction manual or anything, and you just start doing it stuff, it will be a disaster, right? If you just start doing it, you know. And the human mechanism is the most complicated mechanism in the entire existence, you know. And nobody has read the user's manual for this. The content of somebody's thought is never in their control. Because if I tell you, right, that for the next 10 seconds, you can think of anything in the entire world, just don't think of elephants. Anything, just not elephants. Constantly elephants will come in your head, right? Just with this simple experiment we can prove, nature of the mind is not something you can control. It will always do its own thing. The question is, if you think you are thinking it, it's gonna take you for a ride. You're gonna go drive into insanity. Because it's gonna keep thinking and thinking and thinking, and you think you're doing it. You have to realize that it's not you doing it. It has its own nature. So there are certain meditations that you can learn with time, that your thought process is separate from your perception. Your thought process is here, your body is here, this is where you are. It creates a little distance between you and your body and you and your mind, you know, which is the reality of things, because we don't know what we're gonna think next before we think. It comes to us, right? But in day-to-day life, you can't constantly focus on that aspect, because then you can't do anything for physical survival, right? You have to talk to people and stuff like that. So the automation is required.